Texas loses at Florida, and what was supposed to be a special season of Longhorn football is now starting to look like a train wreck. We're talking about it on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. It's Mazda. Move and be moved. Texas drops its SEC opener in the Swamp, 29-21. The final. The Longhorns fall to 0-1 in SEC play and 3-2 on the season. Of course, Texas opened up the year as the preseason number one team in the country, and I still think they'll be ranked when the new AP poll comes out tomorrow, but I'm not sure they should be ranked going into the biggest week of the season with Texas OU just 7 days from now. What a disaster for the Longhorns in all three phases, losing to a Florida team that was 1-3 coming into today, a Florida team that wants its coach fired more than they want to win. And Texas got embarrassed today. Let's call a spade a spade. I know this was only an 8-point game on the final scoreboard, but Florida was the better team from start to finish. They jumped out to an early 10-0 lead and never looked back. Texas got whipped on offense, defense, and special teams by one of the worst teams in the SEC. I know Florida's a blue blood. I know their history. I know their tradition. I know their pageantry. I get it. But I don't think Florida's going to win more than 6, maybe 7 games this year. And we talked about it all this past week leading up to today's game. If Texas wants to be a legitimate contender in the SEC, and if they want to be a legitimate contender for a national championship here in 2025, this is the type of game that you win. I don't care that it's on the road in the SEC. You're supposed to beat teams like this if you are one of the best teams in the country. And, well, it's clear now that Texas is not one of the best teams in the country. They just got punked today in all three phases. And I don't even know where to begin. It was so bad everywhere that it's going to be hard to break this all down in 20 minutes or less. But that's what we're going to try to do. I think, for me, the most disappointing parts of Texas's performance today was the defense. This was supposed to be the strength of this Texas team, and Florida's offense had been abysmal so far this year. In their 3 previous games against FBS opponents, they had averaged 11 points per game. They scored 16 against South Florida at home, 10 against LSU, and only 7 against Miami in their most recent outing. Meanwhile, the Texas defense was top 5 in the country in pretty much every major statistical category. This was supposed to be a huge advantage for the Longhorns going in, and Florida scored 29 points, by far and away the most that they've scored against an FBS opponent this year, and they scored all 29 of those points in the first 3 quarters of this game. Florida, against Miami in their most recent game before today, had a total of 141 yards of offense against the Canes. They had 146 after the first quarter today against Texas. Sorry, guys, I've been battling a cold, and I was yelling at the TV a lot. That's why my voice isn't all the way there. But yeah, Florida had more yards in the first quarter today than they did in the entire game against Miami. And for today's game, Florida ended up with 457 yards of total offense. DJ Lagway, who looked horrible in his last 3 games, looked incredible today. And Jaden Ball, Florida's rushing attack ranked 14th out of 16 teams in the SEC going into today. Meanwhile, Texas had the best run defense in the conference. Florida was able to run it 37 times for 159 yards today. Ball had a big game. He broke a ton of tackles. Duke Clark, the freshman. Florida was playing without its number 2 running back Jacoby Jackson, and the freshman that they brought in, he looked pretty good against the Longhorn defense today. Vernell Brown had a nice run, too, on a sweep. I mean, Texas just couldn't get stops. 0 sacks for the Longhorn defense. We were hoping a lot of what we saw Texas do against Sam Houston was going to translate to this game. Turns out Sam Houston was just really bad because Texas clearly still has some issues. But Texas had 5 sacks in that game against Sam Houston. Florida entered today tied for 100th in the country in sacks per game allowed. Texas has Colin Simmons, a preseason All-American. They went out and got 5 defensive linemen in the portal. It's supposed to be one of the strengths of this team, and they looked really good. And again, against an offensive line that had nothing going for them in the last 3 weeks, they got stuffed. Tip your cap to Florida. The Florida offensive line showed up. DJ Lagway had clean pocket after clean pocket after clean pocket. Texas got no push up front. I mean, even in obvious rushing situations, even when Texas brought run blitzes, they couldn't get negative plays against Florida. Again, 0 sacks, only 3 TFLs for the Longhorns in the entire game today. Whether it was run blocking or pass blocking, Florida's offensive line had their way with Texas in the trenches. And everyone talks about the quarterbacks and the running backs and the receivers and the skill guys. I get it, but these games are won and lost in the trenches. And Texas got punked in the trenches on both sides of the football. Maybe not as surprising with the Texas offensive line, and we'll get to them in a second. Very surprising, again, with Florida's O-line, the way they had looked and the way Texas's D-line had looked. You felt like that was a matchup that clearly favored the Longhorns, and it did not do that today. Texas did have 2 takeaways. I guess that's the good from the defense. One of them came very late on that Michael Taft interception. But outside of that, I mean, Florida, they were 0 on third down against Miami. They were in the 120s in the country in third down conversion percentage on offense. They go 7 of 14 today, 50%. I think they were like 7 of 11. Texas finally started getting stops in the fourth quarter to give the offense a little bit of a chance to get back into the game. But for the majority of today's contest, Florida was able to keep drives alive. On the first possession of the game, where the Gators marched down the field, 13 plays, 84 yards, and about 7 minutes to go up 7-0. The Gators 4 for 4 on third down. And it's just kind of a microcosm of what the rest of the game was going to be. Maybe foreshadowing is the better word to use. Very first play of the game, Florida has the ball on offense. Texas forces a fumble, and Michael Taft just overruns the football. Florida's able to recover it. They keep the drive alive. They put 7 on the board, and it was all kind of downhill from there for Texas. So, man, the Longhorns, it's the worst. I think it's the worst Pete Kwiatkowski defensive performance we've seen from Texas since 2021. I can't say it's the worst he's ever had at Texas because the Longhorns had some abysmal showings in year 1 of the Steve Sarkisian era when they went 5-7. But since then, obviously, this defense has been a hell of a lot better. I feel like, especially considering the competition that you were going up against, this was the worst defensive performance that Texas has had in 3.5 seasons. Blown coverages, so many missed tackles. My God. And again, Florida's got some athletes now too. Dallas Wilson, obviously coming back, huge for the Gators, a top 40 recruit in this class. He looks like the real deal. Jaden Ball, one of the top missed tackle forcers in college football this year. He's been the only good part of the Florida run game. Their O-line hasn't been doing him any good. They've got some talented players. Billy Napier has recruited well. That hasn't been his problem. His problem is these guys just aren't playing well enough and they're not winning enough football games. They've got the talent, though, and their talent shined today. And Texas they couldn't tackle anybody in space. Felt like Florida broke a tackle on pretty much every single play today. And no Manny Muhammad for the Longhorns in the secondary. They missed him because Kobe Black and Cade Phillips, the guys who were rotating at corner in his stead, they had a rough day. Obviously, Kobe Black got shoved to the ground. I don't think it was a PI. Some Texas fans might disagree with me. I just think it was Dallas Wilson being bigger and stronger and maybe wanting it more than Kobe Black in that spot. I mean, that play right there, you sort of just symbolic of the entire day for the Texas defense. Kobe Black goes down early. Wilson catches the ball, and he takes Jelani McDonald on like a 30-yard ride into the end zone. And then Michael Taft comes up at the end and tries to make a play, and he can't tackle Dallas Wilson, and he's like holding on to his shoelaces as he crosses over the goal line. it was all bad. We're only on the defense here. We're halfway through the show. Haven't even gotten to the offense yet. Obviously, they've got a lot to wear from this one, but that was stunning. Like, I thought Texas was going to win. I was very confident. Clearly, I'm wrong. I'm an idiot. Say it. I deserve it. It's how it goes. If Texas was going to lose today, I didn't see it being like this. I thought if Texas lost, they were going to have like 3 turnovers and a bunch of penalties. Well, I guess they did have those things. But I thought the offense was going to score like 10 points and Florida was going to win 13-10. Or I thought Florida was going to have a defensive or a special teams touchdown, and that was going to be what sparked their team. I didn't see a scenario where Florida was going to score 29 points offensively. I was Stevie Wonder blind with the way I was seeing this game, clearly. All right, that's the defense. Let's go to the offense, and let's try to figure out where Texas goes from here. Up next on the Locked On Longhorns postgame show. Oh, but first, a shout out to our friends at DoorDash. Hey, it's still Saturday, and we can look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Boy, for the Longhorns, I don't even know who you pick as the DoorDash player of the game. Maybe Anthony Hill led Texas in tackles, also had a fumble recovery. Won a lot of good for Texas today, unfortunately. Maybe I should pick a Florida player. But hey, you don't have to be a Texas football player. You could take advantage of DoorDash, right? They deliver your Saturdays, and with DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order today. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. And a shout out to Peloton as well. Okay, Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with all of your favorite Peloton instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I've had a Peloton bike for years. I absolutely love it. And they keep coming up with more and more ways to totally reimagine your health and fitness, trying to get you into the best shape of your life. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the all-new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, final segment, Locked On Longhorns post-game show. Florida 29, Texas 21. BK very upset, and weekend ruined. The worst part of this Texas football team is not the defense. I know they were horrible today, but in 4 out of 5 games, the Longhorn defense has been very good, and I expect them to play a lot better than today, way more often than not. The worst part of Texas's football team right now is the offensive line. I don't think there's any question about that. This offensive line was Charmin ultra soft today, and I feel like that's like Charmin is harder than this Texas offensive line right now. Where's the nasty? Where's anything? And this is something we talked about in the offseason. Steve Sarkisian and Texas offensive line coach Kyle Flood, they bet on themselves, right? Texas lost 4 offensive linemen from the 2024 squad, including a top 10 pick in Kelvin Banks, including Jake Majors, who started more games than any offensive lineman in school history. They lost some valuable pieces up front. And instead of, Texas has money, they've got resources. Instead of using those resources to go get a couple of offensive linemen from the portal to bring in some guys with more actual game experience, Texas said, you know what? We're going to bet on the guys that we recruited out of high school, and we're going to bet that our development is going to be good enough to where we're going to be able to field an offensive line that gives us a chance to compete in the SEC this year. They've lost that bet. I don't care that there's 7 games left in the year. The offensive line is not getting a lot better. I don't know if it's getting any better. It has been a problem since game 1. And maybe we should have seen this coming after they kind of got pushed around by San Jose State and UTEP at home in weeks 2 and 3. Maybe we should have said, well, if you're looking like that against them, how are you going to look on the road against an SEC team? I was hopeful that maybe they had figured some things out during the bye week, but that's not the case. I mean, they are horrible up front. Horrible up front. There's no good player right now. Even Trevor Gooseby, who had been the best offensive lineman for the Longhorns through 4 games, he had a bad day today. Connor Stroh got benched at halftime. They brought in a freshman, Nick Brooks, who's a tackle. They put him at left guard in the second half. He wasn't any better than Connor Stroh. I don't know where Neto Umeozulu was. I thought he was supposed to be the starting left guard going into the year. He played against Ohio State. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's portaled. I don't know what the deal is. He didn't play today, and Texas got nothing at left guard. Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell, your two most experienced offensive linemen, are terrible. And then Brandon Baker at right tackle in his first year as a starter just looks lost out there. So the difference in the game was in the trenches. Again, Florida's offensive line dominated Texas's defensive line. Florida's defensive line dominated Texas's offensive line. Coming into today, Florida had 3 sacks on the year as a team. They had 6 today against Texas. Some of that's Arch Manning holding on to the ball too long, especially on that final drive. We'll get to his performance in a second. But a lot of that was Florida. They didn't have to bring the blitz a bunch. They play that too high safety shell look. They drop guys in coverage, and they still were able to hit home because the Texas offensive line was that bad in pass pro. But wait, there's more. They were even worse against the run. Texas averaged 2 yards a carry in this game today. That's not good. They only got to 2 yards a carry in this game because of Arch Manning. The Texas running backs, Trey Wisner, Ryan Niblett, and Christian Clark, had 15 total yards on the ground. 11 carries, 15 yards for the Texas running backs today. Like, the way LSU beat Florida, the way Miami beat Florida, they had good defense and they had strong running games. We talked about it last week. This can't be a game. This couldn't be a game where Texas had to put everything on Arch Manning's shoulders and ask him to go play like he did against Sam Houston and throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. The way Florida has lost all these games, it's been opposing defenses have shut down their offense, and it's been opposing run games have done just enough against their defense. Texas got nothing from its defense. Texas got basically negative from its running game today. I mean, I was excited about the return of Trey Wisner. I don't know how much of this is on him. Looked like he might have gotten banged up again during this game today, but he and the Texas run game as a whole was non-existent today. I don't care who you're playing. If you're on the road in this conference, you can't be super one-dimensional on offense, and that's what Texas was because they had 0 on the ground today. Unbelievably bad. 26 carries for 52 yards as a team. But again, the running backs, 11 carries for 15 yards. Just terrible. And a lot of that's on the offensive line. Most of that is on the offensive line. There were 0 holes for the running backs to go and 0 time for Arch Manning to throw the football down the field. As for Arch Manning, I thought he was the best player on the Texas offense today, but I don't think he was good enough. Like, he made some big-time plays, but we need more consistency from Arch Manning. He made some great throws to get Texas back into the game, and they were talking about that a lot on the telecast. But, there's still too many missed receivers. There's still too many bad decisions. There's still too much holding on to the football for too long. Not good enough. Not good enough. Again, he got 0 help from the 10 guys around him on offense. I don't think he was the biggest problem for this Texas team today, but I didn't love what I saw from him. 16 of 29, not a great completion percentage, 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Both of those came in the fourth quarter. I didn't get why, Texas was acting like they were down by 30 points in the fourth quarter. They were down 2 scores with 10 minutes to go, and they're taking all of these deep shots 40, 50 yards down the field. I don't know if that was Sark calling those plays. I don't know if that was Arch. I don't know if that was just a combination of both of those guys, but it's you could have done a little bit more. Florida, they set up their defense to prevent the big play over the top, maybe take more over the middle of the field. Texas finally started doing that on that second to last offensive possession where they scored to cut it to an 8-point game. I don't know why they were acting like they were down by 30 early on and midway through the fourth quarter. I didn't quite understand that logic and that play calling. But honestly, Arch did a lot of good today, y'all. I think just about every good thing Arch did was flushed down the drain with that final drive. Texas, somehow, some way, I think this is more of Florida just being not very good than Texas doing a bunch of things right. But Texas gets the ball back with 55 seconds, no timeouts. They've got a shot with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to somehow force overtime. And Arch Manning takes multiple sacks on the drive. That's the one thing you can't do. You should know that if you're a true freshman playing in your first college football game. You should know that if you're a freshman in high school. You should know that if you're in 6th grade. You can't take a sack in that spot. And he took 2 sacks, and his helmet came off on one of them, and he had to leave the field. And Matthew Caldwell came in and actually had a great throw to, I don't even remember who that was to, McCutcheon maybe, or Wingo, I don't know, over the middle. And obviously there was a 15-yard penalty on Florida. Arch Manning comes back in and takes another sack. Like, that can't happen. All of the good that he did getting Texas back in the game, again, it almost feels for naught when you make decisions like that. You've played enough. I don't care that it's your first year as a starter. We're damn near halfway through the season right now. You've played enough football to know, and you've been coached and trained better than to take sacks in that spot. You can't have it. And I know on the telecast, ESPN wasn't doing a good job showing replays. It was kind of tough because everything was so hectic in that final minute. But Louis Riddick was saying that, Jordan Washington was open on a play and DeAndre Moore was open on a play over the middle. And if that's true, it's even worse. Like, okay, even if guys aren't open, you got to take shots. You can't take sacks, or you got to throw it away to stop the clock. If guys were open and you're not throwing it and you're taking sacks, those are the same problems we saw in the first 3 weeks of the season when this offense looked really inept. That's not good. And 7 days from now, you're going up against a very good Oklahoma defense. They pitched a shutout. They played Kent State today. But even without John Matisse, like, Oklahoma's got a great defense. It's a good team. They're going to be favored against Texas right now. It's bad for the Longhorns, y'all. It's bad. A lot of next week's worth of shows will be obviously talking Texas OU, but just where do we go from here? I mean, I thought this was a 10-2 football team that was going to make the college football playoff. There's no way this team is running the table. That's what they have to do now to get to 10-2. Ain't no way they're going through the rest of the SEC slate without a loss. Can they go through it without 2 losses? Can they be 9-3? I don't think so. 8-4. And they got OU, who looks good, at Mississippi State. Not easy. Vanderbilt looks a lot better. I know they lost today, but they're going to be a tough out. At Georgia, I would like to just simulate that game, please. I don't even want to watch that. And then A&M at home at the end of the year. So potential losses, plural, on the schedule for Texas. I don't think it's like this team's going to be 6-6 or anything like that, but going from, preseason number 1 to now we're talking about 8-4, 7-5. It's not what any of us had in mind. Worst case scenario, 3-2 going into OU. You figured it was possible, but you thought Texas was good enough and they were supposed to be good enough to win at least one of at Ohio State, at Florida. Instead, they lose both. And it's more questions than answers going into the biggest game of the year. Outside of that, everything's fine. Oh, my God. All right. Well, I don't have a brown paper bag. I do have this plastic Walmart bag. I almost feel like I gotta put this over my head right now. I'm embarrassed. I feel like bad things will happen if I leave that on for too long, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. But tough showing. I thought Texas was going to win this game, and they no-showed in all 3 phases. They got embarrassed. Tipped the cap to Florida. Billy Napier is so good at not getting fired. It's unbelievable. And Texas just embarrassing. Just getting beaten down in all 3 phases today. So that'll do it for the Locked On Longhorns postgame show. If you made it this far, God bless you. Thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me I'm an idiot. Your thoughts on the game, your record projections for Texas the rest of the way. Would love to hear from y'all. Try to enjoy the rest of the weekend if you can. It's tough times for Texas right now, and obviously a big game coming up in 1 week. But that'll do it for today. Again, really appreciate y'all tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.